The day my daughter-in-law asked me to pay $50,000 for her luxury yacht party was the same day she forgot my birthday for the 4th year in a row. But what shattered me wasn't the money. It was hearing her laugh into the phone and say, "Don't worry, the old woman always pays eventually," so I did send her money, exactly $1. And by the end of that night, her entire perfect little world was sinking faster than that yacht ever could. My name is Evelyn Carter. I'm 68 years old, widowed, and according to my daughter-in-law Vanessa, emotionally dramatic. That's what she called me after I cried alone in my kitchen last Thanksgiving. Not because anyone yelled at me, not because anyone hurt me directly, but because I spent 11 hours cooking for 12 people, and not one person noticed I never sat down to eat. I just kept refilling glasses, clearing plates, smiling, existing like furniture. And Vanessa? She barely looked at me unless she needed something. That's how it had been ever since my son Daniel married her 8 years ago. At first, she pretended to adore me. She'd call me, "Mom," bring flowers, compliment my earrings. Then, slowly, once the wedding ring was secure, and Daniel stopped noticing things, the mask slipped. The comments started small. "Oh, you still shop at discount stores? You don't really understand luxury travel, do you? Daniel says you get emotional easily." Every sentence smiled on the outside and stabbed on the inside. And my son? He never defended me. Not once. I kept telling myself he was busy, tired, caught in the middle. That's what mothers do. We invent excuses for the people breaking our hearts. 3 years ago, after my husband Robert died from pancreatic cancer, things became worse. Robert was the kind of man who made a room feel safe. Tall, calm, gentle. He built our shipping business from one truck into a multi-state logistics company worth millions. But you'd never know it looking at him. He drove old pickup trucks, wore flannel shirts, fixed things himself, and he adored me. The night before he died, he squeezed my hand in that cold hospital room and whispered, "Promise me you won't let them use your kindness against you." I promised him. Then I spent the next 3 years breaking that promise, because grief changes you. It hollows you out, makes you desperate to keep family close, even when they treat you terribly. So when Daniel asked if Vanessa and he could temporarily move into the guest house after some investment issues, I said yes. Temporary became permanent. Then came the requests, their mortgage, their vacations, their designer furniture, their Tesla payments. Every emergency somehow ended with my checkbook opening. Vanessa called it family support. I called it love. But love without respect becomes permission. And I gave them plenty of it. This year, my birthday fell on a Saturday. I turned 68. Not that anyone remembered. At 7 a.m., I woke up hopeful. You'd think by my age I'd know better, but hope is stubborn. I checked my phone. Nothing, no messages, no calls. I told myself people were busy. By noon, still nothing. I sat alone at the little cafe. Robert used to take me to every birthday and ordered pancakes I barely touched. Around 2 in the afternoon, my phone finally rang. I smiled so quickly my cheeks hurt Daniel. "Hey, Mom," he said distractedly. No happy birthday, just noise in the background. Music, laughter, champagne glasses clinking. "You busy?" he asked. I swallowed hard. "No, sweetheart, good. Vanessa wants to ask you something." Then I heard her voice bright. Excited. Fake sweet. "Evelyn, oh my God, thank goodness you answered." "Not Mom. Not happy birthday, Evelyn." I stared out the cafe window while rain slid down the glass. "What's going on?" I asked quietly. "So," she began dramatically, "we found this incredible yacht rental for my birthday party next weekend." I blinked. Her birthday was still 2 months away. And Daniel said, "Maybe you could help cover it since the deposit is due tonight." I actually laughed softly. Not because it was funny, because sometimes pain becomes absurd. "How much?" "Only $50,000. Only $50,000 for one night on a yacht, while I sat alone eating cold pancakes on my birthday." And then came the sentence that changed everything. "Come on, Evelyn," she sighed. "It's not like you spend money on anything exciting." Something inside me cracked, not loudly, quietly. Like ice finally giving up under too much pressure, I asked one question. "Did Daniel tell you what today is?" Silence, then muffled whispering. Then Vanessa laughed awkwardly. Oh my God. Wait, is it your birthday today? Is it your birthday today? Not I forgot, not I'm sorry, just annoyance. Like my existence had interrupted her plans, Daniel came back on the phone. Mom, don't make this a thing. Don't make this a thing. After everything I'd done for them, after every check, every sacrifice, every lonely holiday, that was the moment I realized something horrifying. My son didn't love me anymore. He loved access to me. There's a difference. And once you see it, you can never unsee it. I went home quietly, no tears. That was the strange part. I think my grief had finally burned itself into clarity. I walked through my enormous empty house and noticed things I'd ignored for years. The muddy footprints Vanessa never cleaned, the wine stains on my marble counters, the Amazon boxes piled in the foyer from things they bought with money they didn't have. I suddenly felt like a guest in my own life. Then my assistant Claire called. Now, Claire had worked with Robert and me for 22 years. She was sharp enough to read emotions through silence. You okay? She asked immediately. I sat in Robert's old office. The same office where he once told me I was too generous for my own good. No, I whispered. And for the first time in years, I told someone everything, the forgotten birthdays, the insults, the manipulation, the money, the loneliness. Claire listened quietly, then she said something that changed my future. Evelyn, do you even realize you still own 81% of Carter Logistics? I frowned. Of course, no, she said carefully. I mean, do you realize your son owns nothing? Silence filled the room, because honestly, I had forgotten. Robert structured everything through trusts and holding companies before he died. Daniel received a salary, a luxury lifestyle, access, but ownership, that belonged to me. And suddenly, Vanessa's voice echoed in my head. The old woman always pays eventually. Claire spoke again. What do you want to do? I looked at Robert's photograph on the desk, then I smiled for the first time all day. Send Vanessa her yacht money. Claire chuckled softly. How much? $1. The next morning, Vanessa received the transfer. $1 memo line included. Happy birthday to me. At exactly 9:14 a.m., my phone exploded. 31 missed calls, 12 texts, 3 voicemails. The final voicemail screamed loud enough to distort the speaker. You humiliating old witch. Are you trying to embarrass us? No, Vanessa. You did that yourself. I ignored every call. Then around noon, Daniel stormed into my house without knocking. Vanessa followed behind him in designer sunglasses, despite being indoors. How could you do this to us? Daniel snapped. To us? Interesting choice of words. I remained seated calmly at the dining table sipping tea. How could I do what? Vanessa slammed her phone down. Everyone saw the transfer notification. My friends think we're broke. You are broke, I said calmly. The silence that followed was beautiful. Daniel's face darkened. Mom. No, I interrupted softly. You don't get to use that word only when you need money. Vanessa scoffed. Oh, please, don't act like some victim because we forgot one birthday. One birthday, I stared at her, then finally said the truth out loud. You forgot 4. Her expression shifted slightly. Not guilt. Discomfort, like she hadn't expected me to count. Daniel rubbed his forehead. Mom, Vanessa's party is important for networking. I almost laughed again. Not intention. The yacht party wasn't for business. It was for Instagram photos and rich strangers pretending to like each other. And suddenly I saw how pathetic it all was. 2 grown adults living off a grieving widow while pretending they were self-made. I set my teacup down carefully. No more money. Vanessa crossed her arms. You can't be serious. I'm very serious. Daniel's voice hardened. So what, you're punishing us? No, I said. I'm finally stopping the reward. That hit him hard because deep down, he knew it was true. Over the next week, chaos unfolded beautifully. Without my money, the cracks in their glamorous life appeared immediately. The yacht reservation was canceled. Then their credit cards started declining. Then the luxury SUV lease bounced. Apparently, when you spend like millionaires without actually earning millions, Gravity arrives fast. Vanessa became vicious. She posted passive-aggressive quotes online about toxic parents. She told relatives I was mentally unstable. She even claimed grief had made me confused about finances. Big mistake, because one thing Robert taught me was this: never start a war with someone who owns the paperwork. I called an emergency board meeting at Carter Logistics. Daniel arrived late wearing arrogance like armor until he saw the attorneys and the accountants and the amended executive documents. Then his confidence disappeared. I spoke calmly, professionally. Due to ongoing concerns regarding financial conduct and misuse of company associations, Daniel Carter is being removed from all executive responsibilities effective immediately. His face went white. What? You'll receive 12 months severance. You can't do this. Actually, I could, and I did. Vanessa stood up furiously. This is because of a stupid birthday? I looked directly at her. No, this is because you confused kindness with weakness. The room fell silent. Daniel looked shattered, not because he hurt me, because consequences had finally arrived. There's a difference. That night, for the first time in years, I slept peacefully. No anxiety, no guilt, just quiet. Then, 2 weeks later, Daniel showed up alone. No designer clothes, no arrogance, just exhaustion. He looked older somehow, smaller. Can I come in? He asked quietly. I almost said no. But he's still my son. So I nodded. We sat in the kitchen where I used to pack his school lunches. For several minutes, neither of us spoke. Then finally he whispered, "She left." I wasn't surprised. Women like Vanessa don't stay when the lifestyle disappears. What happened? I asked softly. Daniel laughed bitterly. She said I wasn't ambitious anymore. Translation: the money stopped. He stared down at his hands. I didn't realize how bad things had gotten. Yes, you did. My voice wasn't angry, just honest. He flinched. And then something happened I hadn't expected. My son cried, not dramatically, quietly, like a little boy. I'm sorry, Mom. 3 words. Words I'd waited years to hear. But strangely, they didn't heal me the way I imagined they would. Because apologies matter less when they arrive after consequences. Still, I saw genuine shame in his eyes. And for the first time in years, no Vanessa standing behind him shaping his reactions. Just my son, broken, human, lost. I failed you, he whispered. I shook my head slowly. No, Daniel, you failed yourself. That hit harder, I could tell. Months passed. Daniel got a normal apartment, a normal job for the first time in his adult life. He lived within his means. And slowly, painfully, we began rebuilding something real. Not dependency, not transactions, a relationship. As for Vanessa, her yacht friends disappeared almost instantly. Funny how loyalty vanishes when bottle service does. Last I heard, she'd moved to Miami chasing another wealthy man with a boat. Some people never learn. On my 69th birthday, something unexpected happened. I woke up to the smell of pancakes. Real pancakes, not cafe ones eaten alone. I walked downstairs and found Daniel in my kitchen, burning bacon exactly the way Robert used to. There were balloons everywhere, flowers. A terrible handmade cake leaning sideways, and my son looked nervous. Happy birthday, Mom. I stared at him for a long moment, then finally smiled. Thank you. And do you know what the strangest part was? The gifts weren't expensive. No diamonds, no luxury nonsense, just time, effort, love, things money can't buy from people who don't truly care. After breakfast, Daniel handed me one final envelope. Inside was a single dollar bill framed in glass. Underneath it, he'd written, "The best investment you ever made was finally choosing yourself." I cried then, not because I lost my son, but because, after years of letting people drain me, AB finally found the courage to stop paying for my own heartbreak. And sometimes, the most powerful revenge isn't destroying someone, it's refusing to keep saving them. That afternoon, after Daniel left, I stayed alone in the kitchen, holding that framed dollar bill against my chest. Sunlight poured through the windows Robert had installed 20 years earlier. For once, the house didn't feel empty. It felt peaceful. There's a difference. Envy feels abandoned. Peace feels earned. And after everything that happened, I had earned it. But life has a strange way of testing whether your lessons truly lasted. Because 3 weeks after my birthday, Vanessa came back. It was raining that evening, heavy rain, the kind that turns the sky gray before sunset. I was in the living room reading when the security camera alert appeared on my phone. At first, I thought it was a delivery driver. Then I saw her, Vanessa, standing at my front gate in a cream trench coat, soaking wet, clutching a designer purse like it still meant something. For a moment, I just stared at the screen, not angry, not emotional, mostly amazed. Because some people only return when they think there's still something left to take. She rang the bell 3 times. I considered ignoring her, but curiosity won, so I opened the door. She looked different, still beautiful technically, but beauty fades fast when entitlement collapses. Her eyes darted past me into the house immediately, still searching for wealth before humanity. "Hi, Evelyn," she said softly. Not Mom, never Mom when she needed forgiveness. Only when she needed money. "What do you want?" I asked calmly. She forced a shaky smile. I thought maybe we could talk." Rainwater dripped from her coat onto the marble floor. Years ago, I would rushed for towels. Now I simply waited. Vanessa sighed dramatically. "Can I come in?" I stepped aside silently. She walked through the house slowly like someone revisiting a former kingdom. Her eyes lingered on the chandelier, the artwork, the grand staircase. I realized then that Vanessa never actually loved family. She loved proximity to luxury. We sat across from each other in the living room, and for several uncomfortable seconds, neither of us spoke. Finally, she leaned forward. I made mistakes. There it was, the performance, not tears, not remorse, just strategy. I folded my hands calmly. "What kind of mistakes?" She blinked, caught off guard. I got carried away. "With what?" She hesitated. "The lifestyle." Interesting answer. Not, "I hurt people." Not, "I treated you cruelly." Just regret over losing access. Then she lowered her voice. "Miami didn't work out. Of course it didn't. People like Vanessa always believe the next wealthy man will save them. Until they discover wealthy men can smell opportunists from miles away." "What happened?" I asked. She laughed bitterly. "The guy I moved in with turned out to be married." I almost smiled. Life does have a sense of humor sometimes. She looked down. I had nowhere else to go, and there it was. The real reason she came, not guilt, need. Again, always need. "I see," I said quietly. Vanessa inhaled deeply before speaking again. "I know you hate me." "I don't hate you." That surprised her, because hatred requires emotional investment, and I was finally free of that. She swallowed hard. "Daniel won't answer my calls. He's healing." Her face tightened slightly. Then came the line I knew was coming. "I just need a little help getting back on my feet." Of course. There it was. The transaction beneath the apology. I studied her carefully. This woman had mocked my grief, ignored my birthdays, used my son, manipulated my generosity, and yet somehow, I didn't feel rage, just clarity. "You know," I said softly, "for years I thought money was the reason people stayed." She looked confused. "But losing it taught me something." "What?" "The people who truly love you become gentler when you're vulnerable." I leaned forward slightly, not more demanding. Her eyes filled with tears then, real ones this time, maybe not entirely from guilt, maybe partly from exhaustion. But real. "I was horrible to you," she whispered. "Yes," I answered honestly. The truth hung heavily between us. Vanessa wiped her eyes quickly. I think I hated how much Daniel loved you. That caught me off guard." She laughed shakily. "You and Robert had this real thing, this solid marriage, this history. And every time Daniel talked about his childhood or family traditions or vacations," her voice cracked, "I felt like an outsider. For the first time since I met her, I saw something human underneath the arrogance, insecurity, fear, the desperate hunger to belong. Some people build connection. Others try to perch power instead. Vanessa chose power. And power always collapses eventually. "I didn't know how to fit into your family," she admitted, "so you tried to control it instead." Her silence answered for her. A younger version of me would have rescued her again. Paid debts, found her an apartment, protected her from consequences. But kindness without boundaries destroys both people. And I finally understood that now, so I stood slowly and walked to the hallway table. Vanessa watched hopefully. I opened a drawer, pulled out an envelope, then handed it to her. Her eyes widened slightly. "Evelyn, take it." She grabbed the envelope quickly, too quickly. Old instincts. For a moment, I saw the old Vanessa return, the woman who expected saving. She opened it immediately. Inside was a handwritten note. No check, no cash. Just 6 words. "You must build your own life." Her face fell. "I don't understand." "Yes, you do." I sat back down calmly. "I spent years financing your avoidance of responsibility. I won't do it anymore." Her voice sharpened slightly. "So that's it? You're just abandoning me?" I almost laughed. Funny how users call it abandonment when access ends. "I'm not abandoning you," I said quietly. "I'm allowing you to become accountable." Tears rolled down her cheeks again, this time mixed with anger. "You think you're better than me now?" "No." I looked directly into her eyes. "I think I finally respect myself." That silenced her completely, because people who manipulate others depend on one thing above all else: your guilt, and once guilt disappears, their control disappears with it. Vanessa left 20 minutes later. No screaming, no insults, just quiet defeat. At the front door, she paused, then unexpectedly asked, "Did Robert really love you the way everyone says he did?" The question hit me hard, because beneath all her cruelty was someone who genuinely didn't believe real love existed. I smiled softly. "Yes." She looked down. "I don't think anyone's ever loved me like that." And suddenly, I understood everything, not excused it, understood it. Some people become cruel because cruelty makes them feel powerful before abandonment arrives. I watched her walk into the rain alone. For the first time, she looked small, human, not glamorous, not intimidating, just lost. And strangely, I hoped life would teach her what I no longer could. That winter, something beautiful happened. Not dramatic, not cinematic, just beautiful. Daniel started coming over every Sunday. At first, we barely knew how to talk to each other without tension. Healing is awkward, especially after years of silence, but slowly, we found rhythms again. And coffee in the mornings, board games, old photo albums. One afternoon, we found a picture of him at age 9 sitting on Robert's shoulders at the lake. Daniel stared at it for a long time. "I miss who I used to be," he whispered. I touched his hand gently, "Then become him again." He nodded slowly. And over time, he did. Not perfectly, but honestly. He started volunteering, stopped chasing status, sold the expensive watches, even apologized to Claire for the way he treated staff during his executive years. Growth looks quiet most of the time. Not inspirational speeches, not dramatic transformations, just repeated choices made differently. Then one evening, nearly a year after the yacht incident, Daniel asked me something unexpected. "Do you think Dad would be disappointed in me?" I looked at Robert's old armchair by the fireplace, still empty, still sacred somehow. Then I smiled softly. "No." Daniel frowned. "Really?" "Your father believed mistakes mattered less than what happened after them." His eyes glistened. "He'd be proud you came back." Daniel cried quietly then, and this time, I cried too. Not from pain, from relief, because I got my son back. Not the spoiled version, not the entitled version, the real one. As for me, I changed too. I started traveling, painting again. I even joined a women's charity board for widows rebuilding their lives after financial abuse. Turns out my story wasn't rare. Far too many women spend years funding people who slowly erase them emotionally, not through violence, through entitlement, death by 1,000 small humiliations. And the hardest part? Most victims don't even realize it's happening until they completely disappear inside their own lives. I told those women something I wish someone told me years earlier: love should feel safe, not expensive. 2 years later, Carter Logistics opened a scholarship fund in Robert's name. The first award went to single mothers studying business management. At the ceremony, Daniel stood beside me proudly. Healthy, grounded, changed after the event ended. He hugged me tightly and whispered, "Thank you for finally saying no to me." That sentence stayed with me, Because sometimes the greatest act of love isn't giving people everything they ask for. Sometimes it's forcing them to face who they've become. And sometimes, one single dollar can cost people the illusion they were entitled to your soul forever. But it can also buy something priceless, your freedom.